there was a prediction that more people would die from 9/11, from the illnesses, than died on 9/11 itself. And that seemed inconceivable to most people at the time.
Back in 2001, it seemed safe to predict that this unprecedented toxic blend of toxicities and terror will produce scales of suffering which would be unprecedented.
After 10 years of contamination that was consciously inflicted on the people of New York by the Bush administration and now by the Obama administration, you cannot say to the people of New York, prove you're being hurt.
You know, for years they said we cried wolf. We didn't cry wolf, the wolf ate us. The onus used to be on us to prove that 9/11 got us sick. The onus is now on them to prove 9/11 didn't get us sick.
I thought that all these symptoms would have cleared up, but they haven't. What I have is just here, and some of it has gotten worse.
They do everything. Pay your taxes, serve your country, sacrifice your life, become injured, wounded, but that's it. The government says, hi, bye.
Our health issues was not their issue. They did not care. They were worried about their economic future. That's all it was about. We were guinea pigs, every one of us. We were just a number down there. Problem is, we are dying 10 years later. But we're dying because of their lies.
There are hundreds of thousands of people seriously ill that are not being cared for. And worse, there's simple methodologies that show great promise in preventing the development of further disease.
We're trying to all be voices and build awareness. 10 years later, we're still trying to build awareness, and we're still trying to get the medical treatments that actually work.
My frustration is that we weren't able in those weeks and months after 9/11 to get our local officials, our EPA officials, our state health officials, our city health officials to fully protect the thousands of people who sacrificed so much at ground zero to try to save people and to try to clear the rubble there.
And a lot of these people got very sick afterwards. And this was, I mean, and between them and all the people who worked on the pile for months without proper respiratory equipment because a deliberate decision was made not to enforce the occupational safety and health laws, I think that's manslaughter.
The White House was involved in changing the EPA press releases. They doctored the numbers. They changed those high levels to non-detection, no asbestos there.
The World Trade Center contained about 50,000 computers, each made with between 4 and 12 pounds of lead. That's not including World Trade Center 7. Hundreds of tons of asbestos coated the first 40 stories of at least one tower. The tens of thousands of fluorescent light bulbs each contained enough mercury to contaminate a quarter of a city block.
We know that, for instance, mercury is a carcinogen. Asbestos is a carcinogen. Silica, I mean, when you pulverize huge buildings, you get things you've never seen.
I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. I was pretty much a health freak. So now all of a sudden, I get throat cancer. They're telling me it's not recognized.
The correlation between smoking and lung cancer, that's not debatable anymore. The cigarette companies made that case for many, many years. They knew they were lying.
Doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?"
Well, it's the same thing here. The correlation is so high that even if you didn't know why the dust was causing them cancer. You can just say, well, it is.
Carolyn Maloney and I did There's a Droga Bill, the two of us really, with some help from Pete King, but it really was Carolyn and me who battled each other and battled the city and battled everybody else about drafting it and what should be in it. The bill itself was a lot of compromises.
The only reason we got the Zadroga bill, in my view, is because John Stewart publicly embarrassed both houses of Congress, with the strong help of and inspiration of John Field.
You know, just like on 9/11, everybody came together, and just like this bill getting passed, everybody came together. We rolled up our sleeves and we got it done.
I don't think that the Senate would have considered the bill had it not been shamed into doing so by John Stewart.
The bill will help defray some health care costs for first responders whose work at Ground Zero has caused them significant health issues. The bill covers chronic cough and laryngitis and carpal tunnel syndrome, but didn't, and I don't want to appear ungrateful, cover cancer.
The response to the 9/11 victims is a travesty. I mean, there's the, there are various medical programs. Some people like them, but as far as I can see, they are administering a lot of steroids. It looks to me like a one-size-fits-all kind of response. Here, whatever your problem is, we treat the symptom, not the underlying cause. Here's a steroid, and good luck.
I'm always on steroids and on penicillin and all this crap because I can't afford to have any kind of lung, infections. They're not good for me. I was never sick in my life, so taking medicines is a whole new thing for me.
I've been on all kinds of different antibiotics, so I don't even know what I take anymore.
I was on steroids for a long, long period, and I think my doctors became concerned because there was medical evidence of complications in my GI tract. You really shouldn't be on steroids for long periods of time.
After years and years of it, I was asking the doctor, well, when am I going to be better? And they're calling it a treatment, but it's a prescription-based treatment. To me, if you're going to get a treatment, you're going to get better. And then they told me I'd be on these medications like forever, or as long as I needed them.
They're either not getting relief from pharmaceuticals, or the pharmaceuticals are adding another layer of problems.
So many of the prescriptions I've been on are causing side effects, and then I have to take another prescription.
Yeah.
So how do you recommend, or what do you think about finding the balance? Because I was on 18 prescriptions a month.
Medicine is the last resort rather than the first. And I think what's happening to a lot of patients, particularly those that have been exposed to 9/11, are getting medications as the first resort.
One of the commonest problems is that from years of suffering and lack of hope, all people that I know in these registries know that they cannot heal with drugs.
The World Trade Center programs, the official programs, they need to be integrative, and they need to allow us to choose what programs and what treatments and what doctors we want to see, because they're not getting us well. It's so stupid. And they're the ones getting the millions of dollars.
With the 9/11 programs and the way that they just dispense, steroids to everybody, is that it basically benefits the pharmaceutical companies.
I think that we all need to take a wholly different approach and strategy to the treatment of 9/11 syndrome.
People don't need to be dying from their 9/11 toxin exposure. There are things that work and can be done, and I'm not saying no prescriptions, I'm saying look at everything together and be integrative about it.
What I'm doing is I'm juicing, I'm doing body brushing, which is amazing what it's done. I am eating the right nutrients, and the only testing instrument for that is your body.
I had acid reflux and GERD like 99% of the 9/11 community. But instead of taking protonics and Nexium, which eat away at your bone density, I took apple cider vinegar and put it in a glass of water. 4 years ago, my breathing was at 74%. It's now at 98%. And that's because I detoxed myself, I exercised, and I dieted. And my breathing is now at 98%.
I did move to Florida because I can breathe better down there. I was having attack after attack down here. And as a matter of fact, I don't think this building that we're in is so clean because since I walked into it, I have been coughing.
Since I got out of the contaminated area, I've had no more bronchitis, no more hospitalizations for pneumonia. As long as I stay away from contaminants, my lungs don't respond. There was, I think, a very important moment where I was called into Mount Sinai for my regular checkup at an unusual time. So I came in via the path, and they immediately heard in my lungs that I had come not over the George Washington Bridge by private automobile, but through the path system in Lower Manhattan. They could hear the difference in my lungs.
If I was going to say there was anything that could possibly be positive about what's come out of losing my life, basically, and becoming so chronically dealing with health issues, the positive thing for me is this path of awareness and education that I've gotten from basically my experience in going after treatments that work. Every art medium and every healing art medium with yoga and mindful breathing, even the way you plan your nutrition, all of this is healing arts.
The healing arts and the art of healing are really two sides of the same coin. The great thing about the healing arts is it really brings in the whole body, mind, and spirit.
At the cellular level, the consequences of terror cannot be separated from the consequences of toxicity.
Whether it's an element of terror or an element of toxicity, what happens is the body shuts down. It really does go into a fight or flight mode.
I think we were all traumatized by 9/11, not just people who were in the immediate vicinity. Seeing those buildings come down, seeing the videos of the people who fell or jumped off the upper floors is traumatic for everybody.
We need to address the emotional despair in people and how we can release this toxicity that is also being created biochemically in the body.
They add to each other, they compound the problems of each other, and indeed the chemistry of terror in terms of blocking mitochondrial ATP production, in terms of blocking cellular signaling, in terms of blocking oxygen signaling, cannot be separated from those insults caused by chemicals in the air that we breathe, or the water that we drink, or food that we eat.
You know, when you think about it, everyone is getting hit with toxins all the time. Everyone needs to be detoxing and doing some integrative medicine for themselves. But when you've already been hit with so many toxins, like, you know, the toxic soup of 9/11, you have become a canary in a coal mine.
There's also then the stress level that will affect the adrenal glands, and people have already gone through a lot of stress, and so the adrenaline gets released into the bloodstream, causing more stress.
And that sends a lot of signals to the brain, which changes the whole chemistry of the body, which puts us out of balance if we are in that fight or flight mode too long.
When people get lied to, there is a sense of anger and betrayal. And this could actually activate more the hormones to go off balance.
I look at my friend Rachel, and it's like there must be so much pain and so much anger, you know, with a lot of the survivors, and they want justice, of course.
To be violated to that degree doesn't fit our images, and so we respond with outrage. We respond with fear. You know, the nation has been predominantly fearful since that time. It's run our government, it's run our social, institutions. It's really, something that needs to change.
There's a lot of fear, the biggest thing for me is just sadness that this is what our world came to. And, it was a terrible injustice, but that anger, by understanding that fear, by understanding that sadness, and then making a conscious choice to move on in a new direction.
Yeah. I choose to not put too much energy in where I don't want it to grow and develop. So the fear, absolutely, and this is yoga, it's union, it's yin and yang, it's good and bad, but it's a non-duality of it. So I believe there's always going to be fear and then there's always going to be love. Those are the two sides of the seesaw, let's say.
We do need to acknowledge and express the anger, the hurt, and the fear that society is always going to be this more contracted thing, and the shame that we couldn't have done something, that we didn't know enough to help all these people, that we can't heal all these people that are going through this process in some way.
Don't deny that you're angry or sad or fearful. Do not deny it. Get in touch with it, be aware of it, but don't wallow in it. Don't sit there and go, I'm angry, we have to do this, join together and be angry. Join together and find a positive way and find the solutions.
There's thousands of men and women like you, and we get them in touch with each other and we let them share their stories with each other, and I think that alone starts the healing process.
I realized you have to start talking about it. That's part of the healing process. You have to get that stuff out.
The beginning of any type of healing process is telling the story, and that's important. It's important to be heard, it's important to be acknowledged.
To express yourself and your inner thoughts, to lay that on a piece of paper, and then have somebody else read it and see their expression. It sort of makes me feel like maybe somebody else is getting it.
For me personally, art therapy has been helping me to heal emotionally, psychologically, and giving me some purpose.
She's been able to turn all that negative energy into something proactive and positive, and working with children who need the work that she can do. And that's a coping mechanism that Rachel uniquely possesses the skill for. I hope others out there can find something to be able to convert that negative energy into something positive.
People who, do any type of art, we create from our experiences and our interpretation of things. And I think that I'm somehow putting it in some perspective for me. That creative process that brings out of us who we really are in our souls and gives us that chance to know ourselves, that's what's so important.
Because if you take the soul out of living or art, what do you have?
Music and art, you can't live without them. Life is not complete without things that touch your soul.
It's not just mathematics and science we need, it's creativity. Not that everyone will become an artist, a painter or a musician or a writer. That's not the point. The point is creativity helps develop the heart and other parts of our being, and not just the left brain. So it's right brain, it's heart, it's all these things.
For me, it's really each of us choosing a life without fear, choosing to open up our hearts, because that's what happens when bringing it back to the creativity. When you start opening up that creativity, you really are opening up your heart.
Art, I think, has been one of the most important factors in every civilization. That's what we have left over from previous civilizations.
Art really has a profound effect, I find, on myself and a lot of people that I work with and do art with. It's very calming, it's very soothing. You can let anything that's bottled up within you out.
So art is really where we begin to access the depth of who we are. It really draws us out in ways that hardly anything else can, in such a healing manner.
I still don't paint. I kept thinking I would feel better enough to paint, but I don't paint yet.
I guess my art right now is working, you know, with the kids, volunteering with the kids and doing what I can.
She had the dream of starting this nonprofit, which became Art Studio in Miami, but she had rented this space and had this space for years and years. I said to her once, how are you sustaining? And, you know, you've got this space, you haven't done anything with it, and she said it's the only thing keeping her going.
The arts are healing, all of the arts, whether it's music, whether it's painting, film, photography.
Oh yeah, and I'm making tray towers out of inhalers. I'm gonna make this big plastic tray towers, fill it with all my medications. And maybe like let everybody else fill them up too. Make huge ones, show everyone the impact.
I reached out to communities of artists in all areas, and we decided to create a healing arts project around 9/11. All these artists that build pieces of art that represent the pause that we've all been going through for the last 10 years since 9/11.
When we look from a creative perspective, when we look from light and love on how things are getting better, how things are going in the right direction, then this heals us. This helps us move forward.
I'm always half full, I'm never half empty. That helps me a lot. So I can put a spin on the worst of things. I'll find something to throw a spin on it to make it a little easier.
I just go day to day. But I started painting again, and I started, you know, making new friends down there.
I'm getting better. I know I have problems. I know I'm ill. I know I've got all kinds of things. I understand that. But the thing is that, how would I be if I allowed myself to get down? How would it be if I didn't have a purpose? And that's the thing. I feel I have a purpose. And if people have a purpose, a positive purpose in the world, some reason to live, then that's the greatest life-sustaining, life-protecting device I know.
Checks and balances properly question authority over and over and over again.
Accountability is a great answer. The balance between forgiveness and justice.
The huge word that keeps coming through is forgive, forgive, forgive.
We've got to get back to a place of understanding so that we can forgive, so that we can forgive and really get back to a place of appreciation and love.
Forgiveness is generally understood in the spiritual traditions that forgiveness comes after repentance, after people say, we're sorry, and not just, as we say, quite often, we say, oh, we're sorry that 17 people were killed by the drone. No, when it's sorry brings about a change in behavior.
Why is it that the people of this country are accountable for our actions, but our own government, who represent the people of this country, are not?
The only systems that we have for accountability are media and the ballot box. That's where we have our abilities.
We really have lost the thought that we have an obligation to hold people accountable. The Obama administration comes in and says, let's bygones be bygones, look forward, not backward. By that principle, you'd never prosecute anybody for anything.
So it can happen again unless the press remains vigilant and does not accept the official story when any catastrophe occurs, but seeks to find its own independent means to corroborate the claims of officials or to question the claims of officials.
You don't just fix problems overnight. And we keep on creating them, so you can't stop fixing them until you stop creating them.
Every single September 11th survivor on any level should be able to get the help they need, body, mind, soul.
Help these people with these medical expenses that have been inflicted on them by terrorists and their own federal government working together.
It's vital that this country and this federal government takes care of these men and women.
America can get back on track by all of our leaders in government and everyone coming together with truth. And there's been very little truth about what really happened with 9/11. What was in the dust? We were lied to, we weren't given respirators, we went down there. Hundreds of thousands of people are sick and are not being properly cared for.
The world is in a sad situation, and until we change it, it's going to remain that way. The way we treat things, the way we do things, the way we handle things, we have to change the way that we even look at life.
What's necessary? What's necessary is for people to get noisy, but to get intelligently noisy and get correctly noisy.
They need to make noise. They need to talk to their neighbor. They need to talk to any organization that they're part of. They need to talk to their church social issues committee and get on this.
Raising your voice is fabulous. Raise your voice. You know, even if you're angry, raise your voice. You know, because you're releasing the energy. But raise your voice.
Do something about it. Take action.
Otherwise, this is just going to happen again.
A lot of horrible things happen in this world, but let's remember who we are and let's help each other and love each other. And that, I think, raised the bar of consciousness on the planet. And everyone realized, and you know, we have to take care of each other.
We can all step up. That's the option. We can contract down or we can step up and do something more.
As people are personally affected by the disasters going on around them and then to them, they're going to start asking some very profound questions.
We are in a creative crisis, and that creative crisis is affecting our economy. And we have to change that. We have to regain, we have to wake up to bring our nation, to bring this world back to a level of play where we can feel safe, where we feel supported, where we can nurture each other and work together in a cooperatively creative way.
We need to be part of the healing of 9/11.
Not only people who are suffering health issues, but healing our entire world, our economy, everything. It's all rolled up into this. It's continuing on a downward spiral, I feel, until this is done. I might die. Like, I gotta hurry up. I don't have that much time, maybe, you know? My dad died young, my uncle, a lot of people die young. Doesn't mean, it just means do something with your life every day that's good.